Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Wow. I hope you had a fantastic Christmas, because we sure did. And it's always a pleasure to be back on here to serve you your favorite reality or entertainment program on a Sunday evening.
Absolutely. Now, it's always great to be in your home every Sunday evening, and we can promise a very beautiful and awesome 2021.
Yep.
In fact, this year, your surest bet is to just stay with us, because we've got a real deal. My name is Frema Adunyame.
And mine is Tuffuor. The show is brought to you by Vodafone. The future is exciting. Are you ready? And today, of course, we're being refreshed by UF Enterprise. They're going to treat us to some amazing local drinks. I see they've served us already, and so let me just grab yours for you.
Thank you. What a way to start the year.
Let me grab mine as well. We're going to enjoy these drinks backstage, and so we're going on a break. When we come back, we'll introduce our guests.
I am taking Achaje ginger.
Right?
So it's got some tiger nuts, some ginger, some coconuts. Don't ask me why I am taking this. 2021, no darling.
All right, this is Sobolo. We're going on a break. We'll be back shortly.
Cheers.
Coming up on the Upside Down Show today, we have a conversation with former media person, lawyer, member of parliament for Fuasia Yoruba constituency, and minister designate for information, Honorable Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, as he reveals a different side of him on the show. He speaks on life, family, interest, media, politics, and governance, and a whole lot more right here on the show.
This is Fact Finder from the BBC.
We live in a world where news travels fast, and sometimes it's hard to differentiate fact from fiction. Fact Finder brings fact-checking from the newsroom up close so you can separate truth from chaff. Be empowered to tell what's fake from what's real. Watch Fact Finder by the BBC on City TV every Wednesday at 6 p.m. City TV. It's your world.
All righty, we're back at it. I mean, we're still in the business of bringing you total entertainment right in the comfort of your homes. And once again, we're about to serve you just that.
Absolutely. And today we have somebody that I really believe that you would want to know his other side. Don't we all? Huh?
Yeah.
I mean, he's distinguished himself. We've known him from way back in different capacities. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is the Honorable Kojo Oppong Nkrumah.
Yes, sir. Very well.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Nice.
So how is the court issues, coming up?
Well, we're just coming back from court. So I think the court has now set the issues and the timetable for the hearing itself. So we're about to go for the showdown. All
right, let's play a traditional Ghanaian home and offer you a drink even before we go into the conversation. I mean, we have UF Enterprise here treating us to some amazing drinks. And so, yeah, they're going to pick your, of course, preference.
What do they have?
Lamborghini.
Lamborghini. I'm always saying Lamborghini.
Maybe you are gunning for a Lamborghini.
Yeah, no, that's my destiny.
And come shine
But that's it.
So there's Lamborghini, there's Sobolo, and of course there's a ginger.
What's in the
ginger?
Really?
Yes.
First, let me find out what's in the Lamborghini. What's in it?
Millet.
Millet.
Yeah.
And the Tadwig ginger is.
The name suggests.
Coconut. Dates and
does it have any effect on you in any way?
What's on your mind?
I don't know. I'm asking.
So you are saying
what type of effect are you? But what effects are you anticipating?
I will take the Sobolo like that.
Okay. We're in a COVID era. We know Sobolo does some magic.
So let's
have some Sobolo for Kojo.
But how are you handling moving around, and COVID and everything? Have you had COVID yet?
No.
Okay.
I've tested a number of times. Thankfully, I've always come out negative. Thank you very much.
Oh, lucky you.
But I think the preventive etiquette, as we keep preaching, is what we do our best to follow. Yeah. Sometimes, you forget yourself. Sometimes you get a bit reckless or complacent. But I think all in all, we're doing our best to keep ourselves safe.
Just pray you don't get it.
I pray
You are
so.
using the word reckless again.
But there's nothing wrong with it.
Of course. So, Kojo Oppong Nkrumah,
Yes, ma'am.
who would you say you are?
I'm going to be 39 this year. I am. I used to be a broadcast journalist for close to a decade, working at the multimedia group. And prior to that, I had never had the thinking that I was going to work in journalism or broadcasting per se. Because in school I studied business, accounting, economics, etc. So I always thought of myself as going to work in the full corporate world, maybe in some financial institution, etc. Then, by happenstance, I got into media for about 10 years. And I wanted to circle back into private business and law. And by a conspiracy of factors, I ended up in politics. And today, at 39, I'm trying to do my best for my constituency and my boss.
Right. Well, we're going to go into the politics itself, but let's go back to growing up. What was it like, and what were some of your aspirations?
I was born in Tuffuor. My mother at the time was...
Where in Tuffuor? Because I'm a Tuffuor boy.
Oh, I see. My mother at the time was...
Beto Mohima Park.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see. I was born at Ghana Secondary School.
Oh, okay,
Ghanas. Because my mother was a senior house mistress there. She used to be called Miss Kumson at the time. And my dad was, a bank manager on rotation around the country, so we hardly saw him and grew up with him. Raised by my grandmother mostly, because my mom was very often out, until I think somewhere in 1989, when we moved to Accra for the first time. Yeah, so all these traffic. I had never seen traffic before, traffic and lights and all of these things. I went to St. Benedict School in Dantuman here in Accra, where I now got accustomed to some new way of tuition and writing. You know the cursive that people write? Yeah, where I started school, we don't write cursive. So I was learning the normal one, and then now I came, even before I settled with the normal, I saw they were doing cursive. A very, very confused young man. Until somewhere, I think junior high school Form 1, where I found my own, and I actually discovered how to learn. Because I used to be a very terrible student.
Wow.
It was in junior high school Form 1, Mr. Samuel Odentin, a math teacher, and Mr. Champon, who was better than me in math. And somehow we found out that when you solve the questions before you go for the class test, the test becomes easy.
Oh, okay.
So then we figured out this thing of trying to find the former BC questions and solve them early. And so that's how I actually figured out how to learn.
Right.
But in 3 years, I think I caught up very well. And if you ask my mates, when I took off, it became difficult to catch me back. And then I went back to Tuffuor, Pope John Senior High School and Junior Seminary, where I thought I would end up as a Catholic priest. It didn't.
So I was surprised you didn't mention that, when you were talking about possible careers you thought you were going to do.
At some point, when you're an altar boy, you fancy the idea. But I think as I moved on, for some reason, I didn't get a call. So,
or maybe you did not pick up.
No, I didn't get a call.
Maybe you did not pick up.
I recognize the call when it comes, but I didn't get it.
Did you love it? I mean, did you admire the priest?
Oh, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed. I was an altar boy at a Holy Family Parish here in Matako in Accra. Very much enjoyed serving mass, being on the altar and being associated with the matters of God. But I don't think I got the call in the end. Bishop Amabako will knock me anytime he sees me for that. But then I moved on to Cape Coast University, Kesley Hayford Hall. At that time, we were doing the in-out-out-in policy. So 1 year in, then you go to Amamuma village, etc., and then come back later, where I studied the Bachelor of Commerce degree. So at that time, when I was leaving school, I was dead sure I was going to work in the corporate world in finance somewhere. Indeed, British American Tobacco offered me a job as a treasury analyst, and that's where I started. Until the blessed accident of multimedia happened.
So how was it like when you were in school? UCC, you didn't do any media. Were you charging?
Well, I didn't do media on campus.
Okay.
But going for procession and the normal rituals, they are part of everyday life. What you have to hold, you have to hold.
So you remember some of the songs?
But I can't sing them on TV.
Because
Indeed, my favorite song currently, Akwabwas Blow My Mind. It's mostly because there's a part where he sings the and but
he doesn't sing it that way. Yeah.
We have another version.
Yeah. That version will cause chaos
It will.
if we do that on TV.
It will. But yeah, it was a nice experience. And then now I got to work.
Yeah. So you know the lyrics of Akwaba's song?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So we are playing it. Can you sing? Oh yeah.
That's all I can do for you.
Wow.
So let's talk about how you ended up at Joy FM. How did it happen?
So I attended, today I think they call it Enactors. At the time I was students in free enterprise. I used to be project coordinator for the UCC team. And we came for the annual competition. And we always had this conspiracy theory that they always cheat for Legon.
Okay.
So somehow, as project coordinator, I scripted our presentation. So I was very familiar with the presentation and the statistics and who comes in when to say what. And somehow during our presentation, first 2-3 minutes, I think our PowerPoint froze.
Wow.
And the moderator said, University of Cape Coast, the clock is still counting on you. So we were confused temporarily. And by some dint of inspiration, I stepped forward and I told my colleagues that, just keep calm, we're going to find a way around this. I'm going to start your part of the presentation and ask you questions. And then let's see how you flow. So I started. So, our first project was processing Gary. I want to bring in X or Y or Z to tell us about it. And, she will step forward and go through it. And I'll ask, so what was the baseline number? What did we get at the end? Blah, blah. So we still did the presentation. Okay. And I think our ability to muscle our way through that impressed Mr. Kwesichum, who was one of the judges.
Oh, okay.
So he offered me a job there and then to come to multimedia to work. At that same event, Mr. Gomado of British American Tobacco was also one of the judges, and he offered me the Treasury Analyst role. Right. So I chose BAT because that's what I always wanted to do. And Kwesichum kept calling me and seeing me and say, come to this side. And so when an opportunity opened up for me to do what you call the news night on the 6 p.m. belt. And then the business news on Komla Dumo's show, on the morning show in the morning. I would do that, but then during the full daytime, I'll go and work at BAT. So I was doing 2 jobs. I'll go do BAT, and then I'll come and do this part-time job until Komla was leaving for the BBC when I was called in and offered the morning show.
And you had to step into Komla's shoes.
Very, very big shoes.
Were
literally
you confident then?
No, I wasn't. I had a very terrible beginning. I think maybe the work in the latter years overshadowed what happened.
Beginning.
But I had a very terrible beginning because I wasn't experienced in radio. I hadn't gone to journalism school. Some of the seniors who were journalists thought this guy is not qualified to do the job. And this is such a big stage. Everybody's listening to you and judging you in real time. But between Matilda, Santia Siedu, Bernard Frimpong, Samuel Kwadadi Yunchi, Kofi Owusu, Ken Ashigbe, they really supported me and gave me guidance. And in the years that followed, I gave it my best shot.
Right. Now, around that time, you could actually have started a cult following, You had millions listening to you every morning. How did that make you feel?
Well, I learned about 2 things. That one, you're as good as tomorrow's show. The fact that everybody feels good about you today because of how you're going today shouldn't get into your head because it's about how you consistently satisfy your audiences. The second is that the microphone in front of you does not necessarily make you superhuman. It's just a medium through which you're able to reach the world. And so you've got to watch some of the values that the Ghanaian society likes and doesn't like. Arrogance, being presumptive, thinking that what you think is the wisest in the world or you know it all or stuff like that. You got to watch a few of those and finally bring your personality to bear on what you're doing. So it was interesting and we did our best with it.
Oh, some time.
And at the point you had to bow out.
Yes.
Where did you go? Because you were missing for some time.
So the first time I resigned, Kwesichum refused to take my resignation.
Oh, you resigned?
Yes, and then he asked me to work for 1 more year. He said I was stressed out, so I should take some time. And I was like, Kwesi, this wasn't really my thing. But I came in with respect to you. I've done my best, and I think it's time for me to bow. He says, oh, you're stressed, take your time. So I did 1 more year. And then when that time was done, luckily at that time, I had finished my LLB and I was now going to what we call Mokola to become a lawyer. So it was a good bridge to leave and go to law school. So technically, I think if you go to multimedia now, on my file, you still find steady leave without pay. I suspect that it will still, because that was the final application that I put in. But by the time I was done, I didn't come back, and then we moved on.
So what influenced your move into politics? Was it when you were on radio, you know, talking to people, and now getting closer to the real issues on the ground?
I mean, I've always been interested in creating value wherever I am, in a small group or in a church group or at home, wherever. Let's do more than we are doing now. Let's demand more of ourselves. Let's build it higher. I suspect it came out through my work on radio a bit. My family has also traditionally been very supportive of the NPP, been very strong in the NPP in the Ofuasia constituency. Indeed, when the constituency was first demarcated, I think somewhere in 2004 or so, my father was one of those they approached and requested to run for MP, because he was a banker at the time at Barclays, but he was not able to do it. So later I became a patron, myself, my brother, you know, a few other people were patrons of the party. So you pay money.
When was that?
This was while I was a broadcast journalist. There was no reason for which that would even affect or influence.
Oh, so you are doing NPP stuff whilst you are doing the morning show?
But there are people in this your station who are doing...
I don't know about that.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. There are people in this your station who are doing NDC stuff and who are doing NPP stuff.
You know them?
Of course. You don't want me to mention their names on it. Don't push me.
You guys have been meeting.
Cut it out.
So, you know, you support behind the scenes, but you do your work. And then by 2016, our member of parliament who had done 3 terms, the Honorable David Oppong Nkrumah, was bowing out. And we needed a replacement. So we all keep talking about the fact that you need somebody who can bring more attention to the constituency, somebody who's young, who's etc. So one Sunday afternoon, I was here in Accra when about 3 of our executives came. I said, I want to have a chat with you. So what's up? They're like, you know the thing we've been talking about? Like Alaji Grunsa says, and you'll be an So I'm like, but yeah, I'm just finishing law school, you know, becoming a lawyer, also tinkering with my private business, etc. So that's my focus. But they were persuasive. So I spent some time also talking to Dr. Otabil, who is one of my, you know, godfathers, my wife, the family, and a few senior persons, the current president, etc. And I decided to give it a shot. And today here I am.
Wow.
The wife was okay with you going into politics?
Well, she wasn't very excited in the beginning. She was like, you know, you left radio and we're all sure we're going to have you at home to ourselves. Now you're going into this thing and it's probably going to get worse. So she was always like, I don't like this idea, but I'll support whatever you do. And she's been very supportive, you know, so far.
But how challenging is it for her?
I think when your husband is 95% of the time not available at home, and you literally have to be on phone with him for anything, you know, and all he does is to provide what he has to provide. But in terms of quality family time, you don't get a lot of it. I'm not sure it's too easy on the family. My kids complain quite often. Sometimes I say, I think they are expressing what she has been saying when I'm not around.
It's necessary.
But in the little time that we get, we do our best.
But how much of a toll does that have on you as a person?
A lot, because I work first in the constituency as a member of parliament, and no matter what you do, if you're a member of parliament, you can be minister for what and you can do what in the chamber of parliament. If you don't attend to the constituency, they'll kick you out.
You don't come for the funerals and
they will kick you out.
naming ceremonies.
You have to understand it's part of the work. No two ways about it. So you have to do that, and then you have to do chamber work. I serve on the finance committee in parliament, at least in the 7th parliament. About 60% of all the business that comes through the house is finance related, transactions, loans, etc. So you're also very busy on the floor. And then the president also assigned me a very boisterous role, which is to be the minister responsible for information, which requires you to literally be in everybody's business, know what's going on here, there, and unsigned interface with media houses. So you put all of that together, and then you have your health, your social life, your spiritual life, you put it all together, it will have a toll on you, but you try to balance as much as you can.
We'll still go into that, but where did you meet your wife? And how did you meet her?
I met my wife in East Legon. Yes, I met her in East Legon. My friend Gabriel Apea Gizo of BTL and then Jeff Soa, used to be at APSA, and then...
I know Jeff.
Yes. So Jeff, Gizo, and I went to East Legon to visit a friend of ours. We call him Konto, Fred, very tall guy from Legon. Because Fred was my senior from senior high school. Now Fred went to Legon, and Fred also had Ekuya and Kakra and a few other people as his friends. So when we went there, they were all there together. And for some funny reason, when I saw my wife for the first time, she was seated with her friends and Fred there, and I told them that Charlie, this guy for Mariam. And we made a joke outright. We made a joke out of it that Charlie for Mariam. So they were like, Charlie, but my brother said go marry you, and they all dismissed it, etc. So we became a group of friends for about 2 years or so. But as the times went on, our friendship grew stronger, and I asked her out. And initially she wasn't too excited. I said, you these media boys, I don't like these media boys at all. But I think eventually she gave me a chance, and I'm not sure she's regretted it since.
And how many kids do you have?
We have 3.
Hey, why are you?
Oh man,
how old are they?
I have an 11-year-old, we have a 7-year-old, and then we have a 1 year, 2-month-old.
You still gonna add?
Say again?
Are you still thinking
it's in the
adding?
hands of the Lord.
Just say you will add.
It's in the hands of the Lord.
Say, oh, yeah,
it's in the hands of the Lord.
Interesting. But you mentioned the portfolio that you carried, being Minister of Information. Yeah. How difficult is that? Because whatever happens, you have to come and face the public.
The first thing about it is that everybody thinks you have all the information.
No, you don't?
You don't. That's number one. Number two, every media house expects that you will be available to provide them with answers to support their work. Yeah. Number three, like my former boss, Mustafa Hamid, my very good friend, says, the two jobs in this country that every Ghanaian believes he knows how to do better than the one doing it are Black Stars coach and Minister for Information.
Of course.
Everybody says he should have said this, he shouldn't have said that, etc. So it comes with its own peculiarities. But you don't have all the information. Things are happening in ministries, departments, and agencies, and you are not there in real time. You don't have the information. You have to find a way to funnel that information to you. The news is breaking on some media house about something you probably don't know. And so you have to get a brief on it, and the speed with which you can get that brief and organize it in a particular way that will make sense to the various constituencies is part of your challenge. Since I came on board, what we've tried to do is to build a system that allows us to mobilize information from the government machinery and to regularly deliver that information. So you notice we built a new press center. We now have regular briefings, to update the country on various things that cabinet has done, that the president is doing, this ministry is doing that, and then also respond to regular issues that are coming up. So, for example, when COVID came, our briefings now became a major platform to be used, and we've tried to also develop a very strong digital presence because a lot of people in the digital space, and we need to find a way to get messaging to them. So it's a difficult ship to run. I hope I didn't fail during the period that I was there.
But was there ever a time where you had to massage information to put the government in a good light?
For instance, with COVID, people think that, no, the figures are not the right figures. They are certain of the figures. They are not telling us the truth.
Especially in the early days.
Exactly. And even now, because all of a sudden we are being told that, there are spikes, and all that, and they are saying that it's not because of election.
What I can tell you is what my brief says. I operate and because I trained as a lawyer, that's how I operate. My client is the government. The court is the court of public opinion. I have to sit with my client and get a brief. And then I share it with the public. So if you listen to me very often, I'll say the brief as I have it says X or Y or Z. Or I don't have a brief on this matter. I don't conjure stuff, I don't cook stories, I don't manufacture. If I don't have the information, can you beat me? I don't have the information. I have to go and fetch it and make it available to you. But my job is to put together a structure that allows us to get the information. So take COVID, for example. Initially, people didn't believe the figures. We said, why don't we have a website? Why don't we have a protocol so that by midnight, when they aggregate all the numbers, by the next morning, it will be uploaded. There are times when you find that it's not been uploaded. The president has mentioned the numbers and it's not been uploaded because the guy who was sitting behind the computer,
probably slept off or something.
And it creates sometimes some suspicion. Then you had the very mischievous thing that our friends in the NDC were doing, where they were manufacturing figures and sharing it on social media that the real number is this, etc. So you had a bit of that. They even formed the COVID-19 team. That was always, knocking us and bashing us. But it's part of the enterprise, so no harm, no foul. But I think when you are consistent with providing the information as you have it, people gradually come to a point of understanding that this is the fact. You also have to explain to let people understand that it takes a while for us to get the information. So let's say if somebody died today of a COVID-related death, whatever hospital it was, will have to do their whatever they call
autopsy,
it,
blah blah blah,
validate, and then they will add it to the numbers. So sometimes the district will get the number first, the region, well, not sometimes, every time, before national gets it. So if you know one that has not been factored into the national figure at a point in time, it doesn't mean somebody is suppressing those figures or is trying to be mischievous with the
But
figures.
per the briefing that you have or that you've been getting, why are we recording these recent spikes?
I think we've explained it a number of times. People don't like the explanation, but it is the truth. The truth is that in the last 2 weeks, was the Yuletide period.
Yeah.
And a lot more persons on a daily basis have contracted COVID. Why? We can interpret the whys. What we have to do is to quickly work to put a blanket on the spikes. If we are recording about 200 cases a day, 5 days is 1,000 cases.
Yeah.
So instead of having a debate about whose fault is it and what does the data support and what doesn't support, I believe, like the president has clearly said, all of us have to move from that point where we all got complacent, we all got reckless, and get to the point where we are all observing the preventive etiquette with the highest level of discipline as we were doing before. That's
but like it or not, we're in a society where we enjoy the blame game, and based on who takes the responsibility for whatever action or inaction, there's a consensus, and then we can move forward. Now there's talk that the campaign season caused all of this, and now there's a response that, well, the Yuletide period has led to this. I mean, going forward, how do we deal with this?
Going forward, what we all have to do is to focus on the preventive etiquette. If what you want to do is to have a debate for 30 minutes about who caused it, and you won't wear your mask, you won't distance, you won't wash your hands, you continue.
Because your safety is in your own hands.
Because, listen, this thing is killing people.
Yeah, that's true.
It's killing people. And what we have to do is to focus on what we are being called to do, and do so.
Right.
When the president, in his last address to the nation, when he mentioned that now he's given the IGP power to arrest people and all, I've been very, very worried about that directive. Reason being, we all know how enforcement of law is in this nation. I don't know how they are going to do that, because still people are not wearing their nose masks.
I've seen videos from some of the media houses that show the police going into markets and public places and encouraging, and I think in some places they've even made arrests.
Yeah, we understand some 90 persons have been
of persons who they argue are not complying and are not responding to the police calls to quickly comply. I think what we need to do, as the president has said, is to step up compliance and enforcement across the country. Moral suasion as well. Encourage a lot more people to wear those masks, be socially distant, to continue to use the sanitizers or to wash your hands. We cannot let down our guard again, because if it gets out of hand, our medical infrastructure already is getting to full capacity, and it will be a dire situation for us. So what we need to do is to focus on getting that message out over and over and over and over and over again, and whipping ourselves to comply.
Right. Okay, so away from all of that, the president is yet to make appointments to the various ministries. We know he's announced some caretaker ministers. The
expression caretaker minister is from the media. The president never said that.
Yes, we have couched that.
We are his representatives at some ministries.
I even heard you say you were a rod between the presidency and the
chief director.
Exactly. Awesome. So, you served as information minister in the president's first administration, or his first term. Is there any other portfolio you are open to aside the information ministry?
I serve at the pleasure of the president. What that means is this: whatever job he gives me to do, I will do it. Whatever job he says I don't want you to do, I'm not going to go there. So, for example, if the president invites me today and says that, Kojo, I think I needed you in the first term, I no longer require your services in the second term because I'm playing a different formation, I serve at the pledge of the president. If he says, I want you to go to the gender ministry and become minister for gender,
children and social protection,
I serve at the pledge of the president.
Yes, but before you go on, if he says go to gender, and you as the individual, the person, you know that, well, my background, what I know, my skills, I do not think I can fit in this role. So are you willing to say no to the president?
No, two things. When you're a soldier in the army, and you are called to service, it's not now that you are coming to give explanations about why I like this job and why I don't. It's not your choice. We run an executive presidency. It is the president's pleasure that we serve. That's number one. Number two, the job of a minister is not the same as a technocrat. You provide policy direction and leadership at the ministry. That same policy direction, first of all, it's not your policy ideas. It's the government's policy ideas as decided at cabinet. And then you have an opportunity to be at a particular ministry to execute it. And the leadership you provide is leadership over the technical structure of the ministry. So today, if let's say you are minister for aviation or transport, you don't need to be a transport engineer or necessarily to have had experience. It helps if you have had that experience or you have knowledge in that area. But the real skills that you are required to have are good leadership skills and your ability to work with the central government on policy and translate same to the ministry. In that regard, when the president says that go to gender and social protection, it's the same skill set that applies.
So how would you assess your performance, as Minister of Information? Personally? Yes.
I can only hope I did not fail. When the president asked me to do the job, I remember telling him that evening, almost 11 p.m., that, Mr. President, I will not disappoint you. And between myself and Pius and Dukua, the focus every single day as we went to work was to ensure that the mandate and the charge we had been given was delivered. I was never tickled or worried about what people say, whether they praise you or criticize you or whatever. I have tunnel vision when I'm working. And our focus was to ensure that the president's request of us, the mandate he had given us, was fulfilled.
So let me ask you this. Are you somebody who like to tease people or who can handle teasing?
Both. Okay. If you come within my circles, I tease my friends and my colleagues a lot, and they tease me as well.
So the day you said Papano in Parliament, were you trying to be mischievous?
No, I wasn't trying to be mischievous. I was having a banter with my good friend John Jinapo. John is on the other side. I sat with him on the finance committee, and we punch each other here and there. If you follow parliamentary debates, everybody throws something.
The timing,
something in
and the statement.
But of course, there was nothing wrong with that. It was the timing and the statement that even the more made that just interesting. I was honestly surprised that they overreacted. As if I had said something sacrilegious. I didn't think so. And so there and then I said to Mr. Speaker, I wanted an opportunity to correct the records because, let's be honest, I'm a gentleman. I don't come to Parliament to come and misbehave. So Mr. Speaker gave me the opportunity and I told my colleagues on the other side, that comment was in jest. If you found it offensive, I withdraw it. I didn't mean to take them
after that, there were a whole lot of discussion on social media, he said Papano. There were those who came out to even said they were going to also play your own keys.
They said I'm gay, they said I watch pornography in somebody's house with a projector, as if I don't have a TV at home. They said
your TV wasn't big enough.
No, sometimes when you watch football, you have TV, but sometimes
on a giant screen.
You go to watch on a giant
screen. They said I was having an affair with older women that are taking somebody's all sorts of funny stories. But I think in my interview with Paul Adumotre, I explained it. I lead the government communications platoon. When you shoot me down, you shoot down the entire government communications platoon. And so I know that at any point in time, there are people out there whose number one objective is, can we get this guy out of the way so that we can run roughshod over the government? So I don't take any of those attacks or any of those spurious allegations or stories or things personal at all.
But was there any truth in any of them?
Absolute falsehoods.
Absolute
falsehoods.
All right, we'll get into that.
Yes.
You can speak to Jeff.
We'll get into the merits of that, but we need to take a break at this point. Remember, the show is brought to you by Vodafone. The future is excited. Are you ready? We'll be right back.
City TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. City TV, it's your world.
You're welcome back. This is the Upside Down Show on City TV. Our guest in the studio, the Honorable Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. Now, Kojo, before we went on the break, we were talking about, politics and your issues in Parliament and stuff. Now,
But you know something? For all the debates I've done in Parliament, all the sensible things I've said in Parliament,
we don't care. No, that is not why you are there.
I noticed,
that is why you are there.
That many of them didn't get as much media mileage and traction.
That was the peak for us.
And at the moment, that was what was raining.
No, I think that people should also pay attention to the debates on the economy and finance and development that we have, not just the theatrics that goes on there.
Also, we've been enjoying some refreshments from UF Enterprise. I mean, they've been treated. I have been taking the Sobolo. No, we've been taking Sobolo.
Yeah, the Sobolo is what I've been
You
trying.
like it?
So far, so good.
Amazing stuff. Frema has been taking something they call...
I have my reasons.
Sorry.
Well,
What have that top you up?
Maybe that's the effect I'm looking for.
Please top her up for me. So she can flow. Yeah, she has her reasons, but I mean today she's firing more cylinders.
I'll give you feedback.
So,
okay? I'll give you feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
But Kojo, let's look at going into Parliament.
Yeah.
I mean, campaigning and the election and all. Can you, as an individual, put a figure to how much you spent on campaigning?
Oh, it's a lot of money. But I will not be saying it on air because it becomes a headline and it runs away into another conversation. But I think the key thing is that you need to put yourself in a position where your agenda is such that you can have people support you. You can't run for office on your own money. And if you think you are going to be able to amass wealth to run for an election, that's where you get into issues with corruption, etc., etc. I was privileged that because of the breadth of people I knew who had worked with in various capacities, it was not so difficult to mobilize. So at my fundraising at Alisa Hotel, I was thrilled. Very young people, my colleagues working in different organizations, people from even across the political divide, chip in 2,000, 1,000, 3,000, 5,000. And before you realize you have what you need to be able to pursue
how much-ish?
the agenda, which I will not be answering. I've been doing this job with you.
But you feel you owe these people and you need to pay them back once you assume office?
If you put yourself in a position where somebody, for example, gives you 100,000 cedis, let's say, or somebody contributes 15%, 20% of your campaign watches, then you are getting into a place where you owe them favors. And that's why, for example, in the West, they have campaign finance laws that prescribe one person from contributing so much. It's supposed to protect all of us against corruption. So if you do it like the way that I did it, then you don't feel obliged to pay back in your you gave me 2,000 because you said you believed in my dream. You didn't give me 2,000 because you said, if I do win and I come to power, I should break the rules and
give you a contract
for you. No. And you supported me because you thought I was going to be different. Why are you asking me to do the same thing that people did that we all spoke against? That's my point.
Let's talk about vote buying. I mean, after you do the fundraising, you get the money for the campaigning and all that. Vote buying and its impact on our politics.
What did you give people?
There is vote buying. I want to answer that question as well. There is vote buying.
Why you serving our questions?
Exactly. Why don't you want to answer my question?
No, don't worry. You have the right.
I'm offended.
No, don't worry. You have the right to ask the questions.
Don't tell me you have the right to answer.
I also reserve the right to answer or not to answer.
This is the Upside Down Show.
I know. These are the Upside Down answers I'm giving you. So, vote buying exists in our politics. In fact, the first expression for it is pork barrel. And the pork barrel expression comes from, I think, even American politics, because from the advent of democracy, you've always had this enterprise where people try to influence the voting exercise with various things. I think it's getting on a dangerous trend here in Ghana, and it is important that we take a critical look at campaign financing, and the practices associated with electioneering. And if we don't do it now, it will portend some more significant risks for our political exercise and our democracy in general.
That's true.
I have heard in some quarters, for 2024, that your name have come up for a running mate. Would you consider that? Would you do it if you are called?
Running mate is not for you to consider.
So if they call you, you have to.
It's not for you to consider.
That one is also a call to serve.
It is the decision of a candidate on who to choose to partner him or her to advance the candidature or the cause of the party. I have a fair idea who I think our candidate will be and who I think our running mate will be because of the dynamics of our electioneering and where we are as an administration today, I can tell you that I am not part of that one.
But we have heard your name come up.
You didn't hear it.
No, hold on, Nebal. So who do you suspect to be the running mate?
You expect me to say it here on TV?
No, but suspect it.
Off air, I'll tell you.
Is it Baumia?
Off air, I'll tell you.
But who the running mate
Off air, I'll tell you.
Okay, so the running mate, you are not part of it.
times, I'll give you the same answer. Off air, I'll tell you.
But your ambitions, presidential ambitions.
No, I don't.
Are
have
you gunning
presidential
for
ambitions.
presidency?
No, I'm not. I hear people say all sorts of funny things. They say I have a godfather who's grooming me, and that I am, being. But it's all not true. I have told you how I got into politics.
Yeah.
Even to become deputy information minister, there was no grand agenda, no scheme. Mustafa Hamid was picked as spokesperson to the transition. He had to go back to Cape Coast University to finish his PhD. He called me, Abuchi, where are you? I'm like, he said, Charlie, I go campus. I need you to substitute and do this for me. I said, no problem. Me, if you give me the job, I go do. And I did it.
Sure.
When he was named as minister and he was asked for deputies, Mustafa Hamid is the one who called me. Abuchi, where are you there? President said, make a job minister. Come be my deputy. No problem. When Mustafa Hamid was leaving the ministry and was asked to make a recommendation, he recommended me.
Oh, so there wasn't any bad blood?
Absolutely not. He's the last person I spoke to last night, for example.
Wow.
Yeah,
Because for some of us
11 p.m.
That's how
behind,
close
we felt that
you are.
you are taking your boss's job. Why is it doing
Last
that?
night, the last person I spoke to was Mustafa Hamid around 11 p.m. because there's a project we are working on that, we had to compare notes on.
I like the way you're doing it.
Yes, because we worked together. When he was a spokesperson for the election, and I was, Minister for Information, every day we will meet to compare notes. This is what you say from the government side. This is where the party side can take. This is where the campaign. We work together in harmony. And when he went to Zongo Ministry, every minister has an alternate minister because by law, a deputy cannot act as a minister. He chose me again as his alternate minister.
Wow.
So we are.
If, let's say, in 8 years' time, in 12 years' time, the people want you to be their flag bearer, would you
I get
decline?
into speculation. It won't help you.
No, that's what I said.
I'm not going into that one.
But what if it's a desire of the
To
people?
serve your nation, you won't do it.
It won't help you. Listen, what you have to do as a politician is not to start off with some high ambitions. Because ambition kills. Ambition attracts all sorts of suspicions and enemies and people looking at you in a particular way, etc. I came into this game, as I mentioned, because my local executives asked me to serve. Mustafa Hamid recommended me to be his deputy. When he was asked to go and move the Zongo ministry to the next level, he recommended me as his deputy. That tenure has ended. My focus is what His Excellency the President will decide in the next coming days as to what I should do, whether I should stay in Parliament and work for him, whether I should be in the executive, wherever he wants me to go. I don't have any highfalutin ideas of myself.
So at what point would you bow out of politics?
I expect that I will see the signals on the wall. It's like a product curve. You go up, and then you begin to sense that it's about time to check out. When I was starting Joy FM, I didn't have a certain set of years, but I read the signs on the wall that you have hit your peak, you've gone past your peak, time for you to move out, and I left. I suspect I'll be able to read it here. And my hope is that when that is done, I can do a combination of academia and media work with the experiences that I've gathered over the years.
Is there any truth in talk about godfather in the political space?
I think some people have godfathers. Some people have, that old man or old woman at the top who is mentoring and guiding them and bringing them along and pushing them into political positions. It happens in many places. I have not been fortunate enough to have a godfather. I know that people look at it from the outside and suspect that papa we need piano, mommy we need piano, but
Is it because
it's not Ghanaian palace?
but is there that suspicion because there's some level of closeness between yourself and some papano somewhere, or people see some fruits falling into your basket from some particular people?
I do not know. I cannot read the minds of those who may make that suggestion. But sometimes I come across it on social media that his godfathers must be doing very well or something. You are here, people look at you from afar and come up with all sorts of views about what you do. But in this line of work, you take it in your stride. Tunnel vision, keep doing what is ahead of you.
How close are you to the president?
Like I said, I serve at his pleasure. I have the opportunity to sit at his feet and to learn, to take instructions from him. I am not part of the household.
Okay.
But not a single week goes by without me spending a number of days with him on work-related matters. And then when work is done, we have a personal relationship. The conversations
so what do you
will
talk
get
about?
social. Everything, football, politics, parliament. The president likes to tease a lot.
Okay. I told you.
He likes to tease a lot, and he takes a joke very well when you tell him what people are supposedly saying about him. So we talk about everything and nothing.
So when you are not doing politics, what else takes your fancy?
Oh, about 3 things.
Okay.
I either do what Ikuya has always been literally beating me to do more of, which is to spend time with the kids, or to get on Netflix,
Okay.
or sleep.
No, the sleep you need.
Sleep you need. But what kind of movies do you watch on Netflix?
I think the last one, or the current one that I'm watching, I'm just not getting time to finish it all. It's Resurrection. It's about the Ottoman Empire and its formation and the intrigues in the palaces there. I haven't been able to complete it.
I'll go watch it.
Yeah.
Let's do music.
Yeah.
You've told us about Kobo's Blow My Mind. Yeah. Amazing song there. But aside that, what kind of music?
I like a lot of high life and hip life, and then Afrobeats, especially from the Nigerian guys. But yeah, high life is what I grew up into. So the Kojo Entries, the Amachi days, and then these days, the contemporary hip life artists who mix, a lot of high life with a blend of hip hop.
But what do you make of our creative arts industry?
I think we can do with a lot more support and injection. But if you look at the limited resource base of the country, when they chop it up, creative arts gets very little. But I think that if we find innovative ways of raising money, not just national revenue, but raising money, and setting up funds for people with talent and ideas to tap into those funds and fuel their ideas and be able to pay back because of the global markets that exist. It will create a lot more jobs. It will give room for people to be a lot more expressive about their talent. And we will be able to move the Ghanaian Afrocentric conversation onto global levels.
You mentioned Netflix, sleep, and then time with the family. I was thinking you were going to mention DJing.
No, I don't want to talk about the video. So remember when I was at Joy FM, I used to host a program that required you to do a bit of disc jockeying as part of it. So I've still got it at my fingertips. So occasionally if I'm at a party and I don't like where the DJ is going.
Oh, really?
You don't like the 30-second switch, 30-second
I may be tempted to mix it myself.
Right, so let's look at the issue of journalists. In recent times, there have been a lot of concerns regarding how journalists are treated, the attacks on journalists and all. What have we done wrong?
I don't think we have done anything wrong. Last time I saw somebody say that I was justifying attacks on journalists, I'll be the last person to justify attacks on journalists. Journalism is not a crime. I don't think we are doing anything wrong. I think that there are some aspects of the Ghanaian society that are intolerant of criticism and feedback. We must understand that in a democracy, people will have the opportunity to say what they think. And we prefer what you may call ugly noises as compared to the culture of silence where people can't even speak. And so people will speak their mind. It will come through journalists. Some of them may express their opinions, etc. And if you have a rebuttal, what you do is that you also state your rebuttal. You state your case. If the journalist infringes on any law or standard, there are legal ways of taking on a journalist. When my colleagues at Multimedia put up a documentary which we thought was a false narrative, despite the fact that I believe in the freedom of journalism, and they are my friends and former colleagues, I had to lead the charge to take them before the National Media Commission and adduce evidence that what they had done was unethical. I know that since then it has marred my relationship with them. But there are legal ways of taking on a journalist when he or she does something wrong. You can go for defamation suits if you think you've been defamed. But what is not right is to attack or to physically intimidate journalists. I think on the flip side as well, journalists must also understand that the same democracy is a two-way traffic. When you go on your social media platform and you say something about somebody, he and his friends and supporters also have a right to say something about what you have said or about you. And the fact that they have said something is not an attack on journalism. That should be distinguished. The third thing is that a journalist can also be a victim of an ordinary accident, crime, incident. It does not mean it is because he's a journalist. It may not have anything to do with his work as a journalist. If it is something that has got to do with his work as a journalist, it should be able, or we should be able to determine. And that's why we set up the coordinated mechanism for safety of journalists, which the National Media Commission is now administering, and they'll be able to validate some of these reports. But we have to continuously protect our journalists because they help us throw light on the things that ordinarily society may forget.
Well, you are a Kojo. You took over from a Komla and you handed over to a Kojo. Do you listen to him?
As and when I have the opportunity to, I do. One of the things I do to protect myself so that I don't get emotional about my work is that I deliberately do not listen in real time or watch in real time.
Okay.
I have a system that does media monitoring and quickly alerts me when something needs to be responded to, because sometimes you can get emotional. And you may not be able to therefore give the response in a calm, measured way that is necessary to get the message out there. But in the little times that I have, I listen to Bernard, I listen to Kojo, I listen to Sefaka, I listen to Jessica and all of those who are.
I'm particular about Kojo. What do you think of him?
I think he's doing well. Himself and Inshira came in briefly, but himself and the team there, I think they are doing well.
Awesome.
So one day when you are no more, what would you want to be remembered for? What legacy would you leave us?
In my constituency, I would like to be remembered as the member of parliament who fixed the roads. And who
but is that your job?
Is that your job?
No, I would answer that. Let me tell you what I want to be remembered for.
That's like, come and fix the road in front of my house.
Hey, cool down.
I'd like to be remembered as a member of parliament who fixed the roads. I'd like to be remembered as a member of parliament who got a lot more young people opportunity to advance their education. In government, I would like to be remembered as the young man who served diligently without qualms. You give him whatever job and he does it. And back home, I like my kids to remember me as, the daddy, the man who made things happen. My kids say I'm not cool, and I try to convince them that I'm cool. They say I'm not cool, but I try to convince them that I'm cool. But I like them to remember me as the daddy who made things happen. I think that the first job of the member of parliament is the representative function. What does that mean? That means that we are sending you to parliament where they are going to apportion the national budget and decide on development projects. And we are sending you there to represent us and advocate for us to get some. We're not saying build the road with your own money, but if our roads are deplorable, your job as a member of parliament is to advocate and make a representation for it to be fixed. If you're an MP and you deceive yourself that my job is to go and make laws, you come and meet them in the constituency.
So I can vote against my MP because my road is not fixed?
Because he has not demonstrated that he has advocated for your roads to be fixed. And there are various ways of demonstrating that you are advocating for the roads to be. Are you filing a question every day in the chamber about your roads? Are you getting on television and radio every day making noise about you are supposed to champion the agenda of your people? So if that is not happening, then the people would have a right to say this guy doesn't care about our roads. If you are doing that and the roads have not even been fixed, they know that this guy is leading a charge for us.
Can everybody go and sit on radio and on TV?
You have to find a way as a member of parliament to show that you are advancing the cause of your people.
So it's you
have to find, you're a politician. You have come to tell the people, vote for me, I'll go and advance your cause. Then you come and sit down and say, media, I went to make laws. They will kick you out. You have to make their problem your problem and shout to the high heavens so that you become a nuisance in people's ears about their problem. That's why they voted for you.
Of course, anyway, to give us results.
Well, advocacy you can do, but what if the necessary response doesn't come? The people want the roads fixed.
You have to get to a point where your people know that this guy is doing his best for us to deal with our issues.
Otherwise, lau
straight.
Yes, lau. All right, so before you take leave of us, we are going to take you back to
the Super Morning Show.
And you are going to give us an intro to your show.
Of course, an intro and then a sign out, and then we'll close.
So let me count you down. So 5, 4, 3, 2, you're on air.
Hello, good morning. It's 6:05 a.m. Welcome to the Super Morning Show. This morning there are 3 things that we want to talk about, and when we are done, we'll be signing out on the show.
So we are done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You may sign out now.
Thank you. It's almost 10 o'clock. I'm grateful that you made time to keep your dial on this channel and to listen to us. God willing, tomorrow morning, we'll be right back.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Our guest in the studio has been the Honorable Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, and you have been watching the Upside Down Show on City TV. My name is Frema Adunyame.
And mine is Nana Tuffuor Boateng. Many thanks for your viewing pleasure. The show was brought to you by Vodafone. The future is exciting. Ready? And of course, we're refreshed by UF. Amazing Subulu, Frema.
Cheers.
To long life.